No, I'm asking a lot. The price of freedom is high. It always has been. And it's a price I'm willing to pay. And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. Captain America 335 from 1987. We're continuing the John Walker Captain America run. This cover is by Tom Morgan, who is the penciler on the inside, but the inks of the cover are by Joe Sinnott, which unfortunately he doesn't do the inside. His inks are very crisp, he does thick and bold inking, and you can see that here on this cover. But as I mentioned, he doesn't do the inside. So we're gonna start off here. The title is Baptism of Fire, and Cap is still training here. So it's him and Bucky, or the new Bucky. And remember, this is no longer Steve Rogers. This is John Walker. And so Mark Gruenwald is the writer, Tom Morgan pencils, and Dave Hunt, the inker here. So during this era, Captain America wasn't selling very well, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that the art just wasn't. I don't know. It was like a mix of 60s and 70s. It didn't seem to be progressing, but it what really comic books really didn't progress here until Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane. So, like I mentioned, this is a training, so we're not gonna read anything here. This is just them training, and this is Valerie Cooper and some people from this commission just kind of looking at them and how well they're doing here. And you can see John Walker. It's gets the flag here, so they defeat it here, and Valerie Cooper tells them that she's impressed here. You can see here by the clap here. I like this here. So Lamar here, who's Bucky here, says, "Sounds like we didn't do too shabby, Cap." And John Walker says, "Here comes the entire commission to coordinate superhuman activities. They seem to be smiling, most of them anyway." And so you can see here they're all giving them. This is Henry Peter Garrett and Valerie Cooper, and they're all congratulating them. And so Cap is going to take an oath, and I didn't know that he had to take an oath since he's not really a public servant. But, off we go. And this is the era where they only, they don't really draw. It wasn't until John Cassidy came out that they actually drew all this here. So, the little whatever. So they're going to be going into their first assignment. So Valerie didn't know that they were going to assign them something. And they're like, you know, they're probably going to give them something easy to kind of ease them into it here. And so we're going to have a little bit more exposition here. They're going to head into the shower here. And Lamar says, "They still intend to pass you off as the original Cap. You don't look or sound that much like the old guy to me." And John Walker says, "Fortunately, there aren't that many people out there who are experts on how Cap is supposed to look and sound." Now, before we kind of continue here, they'll just continue talking here. I just want to tell you that in 1987, for people that think that it's now that they do social justice stories or anything like that, let me tell you, they have done comic books, have always done social justice and stuff from time immemorial. But I just believe that if you do them well, it doesn't come off as phony. And this is going to be one of those issues where they're going to do some things that are probably a little bit uncomfortable, but it's it's 1987 and they were doing these kind of stories then. So when you see people kind of whining and complaining that things are too woke or this and that, man, they've always been woke. So this isn't any different. And I just wish the art would have been a little bit. I mean, this art almost does look pretty dated, very Kirby-esque, blocky and thick. Um, but it's serviceable. Tom Morgan, I believe, came from the Joe Kubert school. So anyway, so John Walker is like, they want to make sure that they do a good job establishing a new track record, and probably after all that, they'll let him know that once he's got people on his side, that they'll introduce him as the new Captain America. And then they discuss that Steve Rogers hasn't made any appearances. It's been 8 weeks, which is 2 months. Hasn't made a peep on it. So John Walker is like, maybe the old Cap has gone into hiding out of shame. So John Walker says, after all, he really shirked his duties to the country by refusing to go along with the commission's plan to coordinate his official activities. Still can't figure out what motivated him to toss the towel. Ego, I guess, couldn't handle taking orders. Well, enough of him. He's the past and we're the future. And Bucky's like, and tonight, after 2 months of mess hall chow, we're going out to dinner. Love it how people still dress up fancy. And then in Alabama here, these are the Watchdogs, I believe. They're like a domestic terrorist group, and they're blowing out this porn shop type thing, or adult books and toys. So they're gonna blow it out because they believe it's the it's the root of all evil. And so they blew it up, but this guy's shot in the back, and this is the owner of the place. And the Watchdogs are going to fire, but one of them doesn't want to do it. One of them is like, oh my God, shooting people in cold blood. That doesn't seem very good, but they kill him here. And this guy's like, oh my God. He aimed high so as to, not shoot him, but realizes that wouldn't have made a difference here. And so they're going to toss him into the fire as well, because, he is a contributor to the whatever society, the oh my gosh, people that do bad and they consider porn and all that kind of stuff. And it's always been that way. So the next day they're going to have Captain America try to put a stop to the Watchdogs. That's going to be his first mission. So they're going to send him off down there. And they ask, how are him and Bucky supposed to stop these guys down there? And this guy tells them, we want you to infiltrate one of the local chapters in the group, learn who its ringleaders and financial backers in, and then arrange to catch them in the final act. If you'll examine the dossier, I don't know. Anyway, the files in front of you, you'll see that the intelligence we have on the Watchdogs to date. Sir, some of these activities are in the vicinity of where I grew up. Precisely, that should give you an advantage, being familiar with the area, and that people should enable you to infiltrate relatively easily. And he's like, okay. Very Kirby-esque, I tell ya. And so he says, now proceed. How you proceed is entirely up to you. If you need any special materials, false credentials, whatever, you just need to reach. Good luck, boys. Make America proud. So off they go. And so Bucky says, hey, Johnny, I thought you figured they'd give us something easy for our first mission. This looks tricky. And John Walker says, yeah, I guess I figured wrong. It just, when you look at comic books now, they're just, you don't see this anymore. Just casual walking or things like that. Just different here. So, and so Bucky says, well, what the hey? buck up, pal. It won't be that tough. I'd rather fight a bunch of nuts with guns than one guy like Doctor Doom or the Red Skull. And Captain America says, "I just wish I didn't have to be my old stomping ground. There's so much greater chance I'll be recognized or forced to turn in someone that he knows he thinks here." So they head to Custer's Grove, Georgia. So he's gonna he gets out of the car and he tells Lamar, "You go to the newspaper and place an ad. I'm going to renew some old acquaintances and do some snooping." So, and he's like, "So weird being here on a mission. Hey, what a guy got to do to get a haircut around here?" And the guy's like, "Hey, John Walker, welcome back. I heard you was in California." He says, "I was. I just didn't fit out there. Man, the service sure made a He-Man out of you. Look at them arms. And what brings you back?" And he says, "I was thinking of settling back down on these old parts, Harold. Get a job, find a wife, you know." And so he gets rid of his oh my gosh, flat top, because that's what he has now. And you can see here that he just has kind of a crew cut. Is that what they're called or something? So now he's gonna look at another place maybe for him to try. So anyway, they end up in this motel here in town. And Lamar is like, people here don't take too kindly to fellows of my persuasion, meaning black. I thought the lady who took my newspaper ad was going to call a lynch mob. And John says they're good people, just a bit provincial in some ways. They're good people, just a little bit racist. Yeah. All right. And he says, "I checked with most everybody I know, including my sister and her no-account husband, and talked up the watchdogs. So far, no one admits to knowing anything about the watchdog. It's possible the group hasn't recruited in real small towns yet." So, and Lamar says, "Well, if the scam we plan don't bring them out of the woodwork, I don't know what will." So, me neither. I've got to get showered and changed. My sister's having me over for dinner, and now, so they've been in there for 3 days here. So, and we've got Lamar undercover here, and it looks like he's acting like a porn photographer, something like that, like for Playboy magazine or something. And so, all these women here, and here comes John Walker pretending that he doesn't take too kindly to this, and so they're going to fight. And again, this is to draw off the other people here, and you can even see "make me look good." And so off they go, kind of fighting, and the cops come and arrest him. And this guy comes through and bails out John Walker. So the guy that bailed him out is an old friend of his, Harold here. And he says, "I'll pay you back as soon as I'm on my feet. How'd you hear I was arrested?" And he says, "Word travels fast." And he says, "Look, I got some friends who really stand behind what you did. They're the ones that set your bail money up. They'd like to meet you." And so John agrees, and he's like, "Could this be the Watchdogs?" Which, of course, it is them here. And I love how they're dressed like this. Anyway, so they have like an interview process, and he says, "Are you interested in joining our fraternal order in order to rid the community and eventually the nation of the elements that would corrupt?" And he's like, "You bet. Our next initiation assembly will be held this Thursday night." And he gives them a card here. So now Thursday night, and they're having like a big bonfire. I don't know how, even in the 1980s, this wouldn't attract attention. So, they are blindfolding him, or he was blindfolded. They've taken off the blindfold. They present him to John Walker. And so, and he thinks here, "Man, I wish I didn't have to know who Okay, man, I wish they didn't have to know who I really am. If I make the slightest slip up, they'll all realize I'm Captain America. But what choice did I have? I might not be able to infiltrate so quickly without cashing in on my local reputation. So let us all join together in our oath of allegiance. And so they do their thing, and so John's like, this is weird. I believe in the things their oath is talking about. So, um, well, interesting. And so another oath, and he takes it here, and down they go. I don't know. This is even too over the top for a comic book. So, all right, and so he puts on his uniform, but now they have the pornographer, which is of course Lamar here, and he's like, "What the heck?" And so he's like, "What are they going to intend to do with him?" And they're going to lynch him. That is what they're going to do. So when I first kind of looked over this issue, I was like, okay, but and John Walker's like, he's got augmented. I like how they said neck muscle. He has augmented muscles. The neck still happens to have them. He's like, will he be able to do it? And he's like, what do I do? So he's gonna try to switch to Captain America in time, but he's like, oh boy, how quickly am I gonna be? And so and man, this mission has been bad news from the start. First, it takes me to my hometown. Then I'm forced to oppose a guy whose moral stand I'm in basic agreement with. Then I find my high school sweetheart is ready to sell her property for a couple of bucks. That was one of the people that was in line. And so, and now I'm forced to do nothing as they lynch my friend. This couldn't have come at a tougher time for me if the commission had planned it. Maybe they did. Maybe they've arranged this as a test, you know? And so, this guy whispers at him. He's like, tells him something. He's like, Doc Brothers, I've been reminded that some of us have to get up for work in the morning. If we want to torch the library, we'd better leave at once. I will see you at the lynching. So here they go. And John's like, oh, I hope Lamar can handle this. And so, and they realize now that John Walker's not there with them, and now Captain America is in there. And they're like, hey, it's that do-gooder. And Captain America's now going to get the jump on them and dispose of them. You can see this here. He throws a shield. They all lose the fire. He's actually getting pretty good at the shield. Remember, time has passed, so he has been practicing this for a while. Look at this. Whang, and everybody goes flying. This is actually very Kirby-esque. And Tom Morgan's not a Kirby type thing, so they all kind of fall on him, but he does his thing and pushes them all out, and the police come. And all this time, now this is the funny thing, all this time, then he's like, okay, and now I've got to find Lamar. Criminy, what? He just stayed there waiting for the police and didn't go get his friend. I know that I just don't understand when Mark Gruenwald was writing this, why he had him wait. It makes him look like a freaking jerk. Turns out that Lamar was able to get out and has what it needs, but you basically make this guy be a jerk that the mission is, and maybe it is, maybe that's the whole point, but you would think that as a writer, his first thing would have been, because the whole time it's like, can Lamar handle this? Can Lamar handle this? Obviously, Lamar could, but why didn't they have him go? They could have done this so as to make John Walker, I don't know, not be such a thing. So, all right, John grabbed himself some stuff. He says, John's like, I just knew you could handle the situation by yourself, pal. And then he realized, like blazes, I did. I was gambling with Lamar's life. I just hope he understands. And he's like, it was scary for a moment, Cap, but I snapped my cuffs down, toward myself, and so they've gotten the thing, and he's actually looking at this, which I think we will see something that's actually gonna come from this. So, um, and we end the issue with him thinking here, but if I knew, I figured it out, that would probably invalidate the whole thing, and I'd always have to wonder if they'd spring another one on me. I wonder if this is why the original Cap quit on them. He couldn't trust them. So they're talking about the commission here. So very interesting. What do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of that ending of John Walker kind of just waiting, and then like he waits for the cops and doesn't go check on his buddy? Um I don't know. So, um I don't know if I could have written it like that, but you know, Captain America 335, written by Mark Grenwald and drawn by Tom Morgan. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.